This is Chicago's Progressive Talk. We interrupt regular programming to bring you this breaking news.
Breaking news. Hal Sparks is back.
That's right.
What?
Wow.
I think it's important.
Okay.
This is Devin Tingle. Make sure you join me, the Paulacious one, Paul Shivari, the Marvelous one, Dan Marver, and Sports from the Couch's Mike Mercado every Sunday night, 9 p.m. for the Sports Cubicle. But right now, we're clocked in for the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Right. Welcome back. And that's, I notice a huge drop off in sarcasm when you're pitching your own show, Devin. I'm
Right?
just, you know what I mean? Like a huge, talk about economic.
All of a sudden, he
you know,
seems to take it really seriously.
yeah, we've had a 7.8.
Paulacious one for crying out loud.
That's a 7.8% drop in sarcasm inflation over the last 20 seconds. Cars, for example, have accounted for, and this is according to MarketWatch own thing, which is, again, I tell my regular live stream viewers all the time at infotainmentwars.com and twitch.tv/HalSparks, where you can get to just by going to fwank.com, FWANQ.com, that you need, whenever you see an article, especially with an incendiary headline, that you're like, I don't know. I have a feeling there's a fishhook in this headline because it seems, in most cases, too bad to be true. That what you want to do is you want to scroll down, and depending on the appetite of the regular user of that website or newsroom, if they're deep readers like the New York Times assumes that their readers can handle giant paragraphs. So they'll have big, thick paragraphs. So it's usually paragraph 3 in the New York Times or even the Washington Post. If it's USA Today, or in this case, MarketWatch, you're going to look at it like paragraph 7, because that's the same amount of words. They just break it into more bite-sized chunks to keep you in there. And that's how the fun. I'm sorry to give away trade secrets. Motor vehicles accounted for 20% of the inflation rate in the last 12 months. Cars. New vehicle purchases have jumped 11% in the past year.
Huh.
Used car
And that can
and truck
charge
prices.
you more for them.
Yeah, used car and truck prices are up 31.4%. You can get more for your used car than you could. The person buying your used car will pay more for it. 31% in the year before the pandemic, and the year before that, and the year before that. New and used vehicles prices were roughly unchanged after adjusting for quality improvements, which, by the way, we have reached, if anybody has noticed, the narrowing of sort of Moore's law when it comes to cars. Once you get up, into the area where a percentage of them are driving them themselves, all the other stuff that used to be luxury items, like cruise control. Remember, like a car with cruise control in like the late 80s, early 90s? That was like introducing AI. Look at this. I still got to put my hands on the wheel, but I can take my feet off the pedals. My ankle and my hip thank me, on these long car drives, right? Automated, cars, satellite radio, touch screens, environmental control, heated seats, all the stuff that was like in like a plot point in American Psycho were available in a stock Tercel in 2007. Right? And so there's a narrowing of what that means to have a fancy pants car, right? And hence, used cars retain their value because they have fancy elements that are lasting. There's nothing wrong with these things. The heated seat coils aren't going to go bad in the next 100,000 miles in a lot of these things. Yeah. So many, somebody's like dashboard serves coffee, right? Cup holders. I remember when cup holders were like, oh my God, that car has cup holders.
Oh, that was a huge
You know what I
deal.
mean? And then they were so ubiquitous, it became a joke in Bad Boys because Will Smith's Porsche didn't have cup holders. $80,000 car, right? And it didn't have a cup holder in it. So there's been a narrowing of this, like used car value, especially newer used cars over the last 10 years are holding their value longer. They stay comfortable longer. They're cheap, some of the parts in them are cheaper to replace. That's my cat, by the way.
What did he say?
He played with the doorstop. He just went brrrr.
Oh, that's the best.
So, understand that, like, if you watch Fox News or Market Watch or any of these things, you would think it's all eggs and gas, right? Eggs, gas, beef, and toys for Christmas. That is driving it. When in fact, 20% of it is the rise in used car sales. And those cars, by the way, are still selling. The reason the used car and truck prices are up 31% is because they were up 28% and someone had more money to spend for a used car. Consider that for a moment. All right. And again, consider also that the used cars we're talking about are not $60,000 used cars, although some of them certainly are. Some of them are $5,000 used cars, and somebody with a car that they bought for $3,000 suddenly, because of COVID support and all these kind of things, could finally buy a car and maybe even get a touch of a loan because they still had their job even though it was on pause for a car that was worth $6,000. And as somebody who had a rotten spot in the floorboard of my Mitsubishi Montero for the better part of 2 years where you could see the road, I know the value of finally having that, like, over the hump $3,000 that changes your entire transportation picture. You're not going to be buying a Tesla. You're not going to be buying a brand new, or a used Land Rover or something like that. You're going to be buying a used car that is half as old as the one you're driving and 5 times as good.
Pretty much.
But instead of looking at the consumer confidence of the fact that people who had, used cars on their last legs were finally able to get a newer used car that, while its knees are squeaky, it's got maybe another 3 years before its last legs show up, right? But that's not how Wall Street's going to look at it. It's certainly not how Republicans are going to look at it. But what they're going to tell you is the numbers that affect everybody day to day, that Washington's out of touch and this printing money is driving up the inflation rate and all these prices, instead of looking at why. The fact that gas prices fell off a cliff last year because no one was going anywhere, and oil companies aren't notoriously friendly and will make up for that loss in revenue by limiting supply, right? Which is exactly what they did. That's right. And they will drive up until the consumer reaches the breaking point and says, I'm done, I'm getting a low-cost electric car. The Biden administration has set a goal to increase the amount of solar energy in the United States available by 5-fold in the next 20 years. 5-fold. That's not going to come in big solar farms. That's rooftops of houses. That's federal and state tax breaks and
That's awesome.
and founding that. And that's a bunch of electric cars being charged off of sunlight and batteries while you're sleeping. Instead of driving to the corner, gas is going to go up because of that, because fewer and fewer people are going to use it. And it's going to be a prestige fuel for a few. Get used to the idea, and your life is going to get a lot cheaper, a lot quicker on the arc of technology. We got to take a break. We'll be back. Our number is 773-763-9278. There is other news to get to, but this one drives me particularly crazy, and we got to nail it a little bit. I can't let them get away with it. We'll be back.